Hi guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Today we've got an exciting battle for you. We're going to see what would happen if Krillin were to enter a tournament against all the most powerful beings in the multiverse. So if you haven't already, make sure you click like and subscribe, hit the notification icon. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to do that so that you won't miss anything. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, now this is Krillin talking. I was having a rough day. Krillin, I'm tired of being broke. Maybe you should get a better job, Android 18 said with a hint of frustration in her voice. But I like being a police officer, Krillin responded. It doesn't pay much. If you're going to keep playing cops and robbers, at least enter a tournament or something, 18 responded, sounding annoyed. And that's how it all started. So there I was in a strange universe, set to do battle with the most powerful beings in the multiverse. My first round fight was against this All Might guy. I fought him a few weeks back, and it didn't go so well. He wasn't a very technical fighter, but he caught me off guard with his strength. He beat me last time, but it wasn't happening again. I was ready. We stepped out onto the arena, and I could feel my heart pounding. I was nervous, terrified actually. As I looked across the battlefield, I could see a mountain of muscle brimming with confidence. He was grinning as if something was seriously psychologically wrong with him. What was even more unnerving were his cold, dark, lifeless eyes. "Let's get ready to rumble," shouted the announcer, and the battle commenced. I wasted no time and sprang into action, landing a kick to my opponent's midsection. To my surprise, he was unfazed. He threw a punch and I dodged it. I felt the force of the punch even though he missed me. And I knew that if he had landed one, I was in big trouble. He threw another strike, and this time I dodged it again. As I dodged it, I elbowed him in the back of his neck, causing him to stumble. As he regained his footing, he sprang back towards me. This time, I parried and attempted to land a hook, but he managed to dodge it. Not completely though. I grazed him. To my surprise, I saw a small cut. I had managed to injure him. He wiped the blood from his face, and suddenly, he was no longer smiling. In a fit of rage, he began throwing lightning fast punches at me. I managed to dodge them at first, but they got faster and faster. Eventually, he landed one, and the force was so great that I felt it through my entire body. It almost felt as if I was about to explode as the force of the punch traveled through my entire body. I could feel the lights going out. Was I dying? As I began to fade out, I could see my wife and kids' faces, and it sparked a flame inside my body. I regained my footing and began to power up. All Might stood in shock as my power surged. My goodness, the surge was intense. I imagine it's what it feels like for my friend Goku to go Super Saiyan. Ha! By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. My ki blast knocked him from the stage. I was the winner. I had finally avenged my loss. I had won the battle. But who would I face next? There were rumors of an Asgardian and a Kryptonian that were tearing their way through the bracket. Each of them was significantly more powerful than my first opponent. I thought to myself, do I have what it takes? I had faced and defeated tough opponents before, but these guys were insane. They were in a whole new league. There was this guy, they called him I think it was the Martian Manhunter or something silly like that, who had the power to project thoughts into his opponent's mind. He would have won his first match if his opponent wasn't dumb as a rock. A raging green beast smashed his head in. His mental attack didn't work right off, and the green behemoth knocked him out cold. Apparently the psychic attack did end up working, and the monster reverted back to his base form. A disgusting transformation that horrified the audience. After the transformation, the monster fell asleep in his base form, and it was a dual disqualification. The winner of that bout was set to fight the king of Atlantis, the Submariner. This guy just earned himself a bye into the next round. Now he and I were set to meet up in a quarterfinal match. Our bout was called much faster than I expected. I took my place, and I apologized to all the kids who look up to me for my actions in that moment. But when I saw this guy float down from the sky with his little ankle wings, wearing some green undies, I began to laugh hysterically. I knew the stakes were high, But when I was anxious and anticipating a fierce warrior, but ended up meeting Peter Pan's mutant uncle, it was too much. He didn't appreciate my laughter, and he told me I would pay, yada, yada, yada. Once the battle started, he wasted no time initiating his offense. I was far too busy trying to keep from having another laughing fit to feel threatened by his attacks. His punches didn't faze me, but he was pretty durable. So I was having a hard time determining how much force was too much. Finally, I'd had enough. I needed to end the battle before I started laughing again and got myself disqualified. Plus, there was a squid in the stands that kept eyeing me. I figured he was a fish guy. If I could dehydrate him, I could just push him out of bounds. I hit him with a sick solar flare and left the arena smelling like burnt fish. He fell to the ground and started flopping around like a fish out of water. I was going to just kick him off the stage, but the sight of him flopping around was just so gross. I looked at the ref, and I guess he could tell what I was feeling, so he just called the match and I had won. Next, I would face Thor, the god of thunder, who I thought was just a really, really buffed woman. So guys, thanks for watching. If it's the podcast, thanks for listening. Make sure that you've clicked like and subscribe. We will be coming back next week with the conclusion. Eventually, Krillin's going to work his way through the bracket, and let's see who he ends up facing. Will it be Superman? Will it be Spider-Man? Will it be Batman? We don't know who he's going to face in the finals. Now, this guy manhandled both of his opponents leading up to me. In the first round, he fought this guy in some red and blue spandex. The kid was agile and sneaky, but he was clearly outmatched. Even if he could have figured out some way to overcome Thor's physical attributes, he had no answer for his hammer. The tournament had some pretty wonky rules. Apparently, weapons are allowed. If somebody had told me, I would have borrowed the Z-sword. The hammer was crazy and could do all kinds of tricks. I couldn't figure out if it was AI or if this guy was a really good magician. The little spider kid was quick and landed a lot of blows, but didn't even manage to mess up the hammer man's hair. The match ended with the hammer guy hitting Spider Guy on his big toe. It looked painful enough, but to add insult to injury, the hammer guy just left the hammer on the poor kid's foot. The kid struggled and struggled to move the hammer as he screamed in agony. As strong as the kid was, he could not move the hammer. On the other hand, Blondie was flinging that thing around like it was weightless. What in the world was I up against next? Then in his next round, he beat up a girl. He fought some chick who literally called herself Wonder Woman. The crowd seemed so excited when she stepped out into the field of battle that I thought she had a chance. She had a golden glowing lasso that she could do some pretty cool tricks with. The best was when she roped the hammer guy, Thor. The lasso of truth compels you, she shouted as she had the guy all tied up. I think you're really pretty, and after I beat you, I want to ask you out on a date, he said. He was more truthful than he probably wanted to be, so I could tell the lasso had really worked. How do you plan to beat me, she asked. His response was classic. Before you roped me, I threw my hammer into outer space. It's currently returning to me at such a high rate of speed, you won't be able to dodge it, he said with a smile. The hammer struck her with such force in her gut that she farted, threw up, and sneezed all at the same time. She then passed out and couldn't finish the fight. Thor was the winner and my opponent in the semifinal bout. So there I was standing on the stage ready to do battle. The crowd was going nuts. The atmosphere was simply electric. I won't lie, I was nervous. I hadn't even warmed up that hard, but I was sweating beads. The ref called for Thor to take his place, and crickets. Where was this guy? Did he forfeit? The crowd started to boo him, and the referee was just about to call the match, but just then, there was a crack of thunder. Then this clown drops out of the sky and starts bouncing his muscles around everywhere. I shouted out, "Hey, it ain't that type of show, buddy." At first, I tried to be tough, but let's be real, Thor was on a whole nother level when it came to power. The fight started and he didn't waste any time. He looked big and clumsy, but was surprisingly quick. I dodged and dodged, but the hammer floated up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder and distracted me just long enough for him to land a hit. He hit me so hard that Roshi felt it. Speaking of Roshi, I caught him making goo-goo eyes at Thor, but when he turned around and he realized that he was a dude, the look on his face was priceless. The worst part of the whole fight, the dude managed to score a bullseye on my little pinky toe with his hammer. I'm telling you, it hurt so bad. And then I looked in the stands and I could see the Z Fighter snickering. Yeah, laugh it up, guys. Yamcha and Goten were in the stands having a hearty laugh at my expense. Now I was determined not to become a human pancake, so I had to think fast. The guy was tough. In his current lightning-charged state, I couldn't hurt him. And whatever that metal was on his hammer, it was too hard for me to damage. But I had a plan. I pulled off my ultimate move, the Destructo Disc. I swung it at him with all my might, and it soared through the air like a flying saucer of doom. He dodged it and threw his hammer as a counterattack. But that was what I planned on. My Destructo Disc made a U-turn and headed towards the hammer. You won't believe what happened next. The Destructo Disc sliced right through the handle of Thor's hammer. Mjolnir. Did you hear that? Thor's supposedly unbreakable weapon just got a haircut, courtesy of yours truly. Now that's what I call a killer barber. Mjolnir was now a drop top. Then when the God of Thunder saw that I decapitated his beloved toy, he fell to his knees and shouted, Mjolnir! Then Yamcha and Goten started laughing even harder. Don't get me wrong, his reaction was funny, and I wanted to laugh too, but not in the guy's face. Well, as you can imagine, Thor was stunned, flabbergasted, and probably a little embarrassed too. With his weapon compromised, I took the opportunity to give Thor a taste of his own medicine. I dodged his lightning strikes, danced around him like a mosquito buzzing in his ear, and managed to land a few solid hits. It was like a dance-off. Without his hammer, he wasn't all that strong, and I finally decided to stop toying with him, and I landed a solid kick to his head and ended the battle. And just like that, my friends, I emerged the victor. Thor may have the muscles and the fancy hammer, but this bald warrior proved that when it comes to fighting, size doesn't matter. Well, except for the size of my pinky toe, because that thing still hurts and it's throbbing and it's a bit swollen. Thanks, Thor. After I hopped down from the stage, I found out that Superman had defeated his semifinal opponent, Captain Marvel. Goten came over and whispered in my ear, giggling like a schoolgirl. Look at him over there. He's crying like a baby because he had to beat up a girl. I'm not sure if you guys realize it or not, but Teenage Goten is a bit of a jerk. Well, thanks for tuning in. Next time, we'll see what happens when Krillin faces off against the Man of Steel. Will it be a mismatch or will he find a way to win?